My parents gave my childhood home to my younger brother, then called me months later, crying and asking for help paying the bills he left behind. They chose him over me, and now they're watching everything fall apart. My name's Callie Mercer, and this is the story of how I stopped being their backup plan. Before we get started, where are you tuning in from? Are you in the middle of the morning rush or on a late-night drive? Drop a comment below. You're about to hear everything that happened after I made the choice that changed everything. I grew up in a quiet suburb just outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Our street was lined with trees that turned a blazing gold every October, and the houses all looked like they came from the same blueprints, modest, brick front, with white shutters and chain-link fences. Ours was no different. Inside, it was Mom's domain. Shelves stacked with ceramic angels, the scent of vanilla candles always lingering, and the low hum of the local news playing in the background. To outsiders, we were just another typical family. Inside, things were a little more lopsided. I was the firstborn, the rule follower. I did what was expected, finished my homework without being told, worked summers at the local diner, and helped Mom clean, while Tyler, my younger brother, played video games in the basement. Even then, I noticed the way my parents spoke to him differently. They'd laugh off his mistakes, say, "He's just spirited," or "Boys will be boys," even as the list of missed classes and detentions piled up. When I got straight A's, it was expected. When he passed algebra, it was cause for celebration. Still, I didn't resent him. Not back then. I just assumed that if I kept being the good daughter, eventually it would be recognized. I moved out at 19, worked my way through community college, and landed a stable job as a graphic designer. I lived small, but steady. I never asked them for help, and for a while, it felt like things had balanced out. Tyler bounced between jobs, tried community college twice, and crashed with friends more than once. But every time, our parents were there, helping with rent, covering fees, letting him come home when things went south. I got used to being in the background. I showed up for holidays, brought store-bought pies, and smiled through conversations that revolved around Tyler's latest ideas or struggles. I kept my life updates brief. I figured, what's the point? I wasn't the exciting one. I was just fine. I never expected what happened next. I got a call one afternoon to come home for a family dinner. When I arrived, everything was suspiciously polished. The kitchen smelled like pot roast. The table was set with Mom's wedding china, and Tyler, who hadn't had a job in months, was grinning like he won the lottery. And in a way, he had. I stared across the table at Tyler, waiting for the punchline. He was never this cheerful, especially not when I was around. My parents were fussing with the food, overly chipper, but their energy was off. Forced, like they were covering something. Then Dad cleared his throat. "We have some news," he said, folding his hands on the table like he was about to lead a prayer. Mom nodded too enthusiastically, her smile brittle. "We've decided to sign the house over to Tyler," he continued. My fork paused midair. "I'm sorry, what?" Mom chimed in. "It's time he gets some roots. He's ready. And this house, it's always been part of our family. We want it to stay that way." I blinked, confused. "So, you're just giving it to him?" "Well, not giving," Dad rushed. "He'll take care of it, pay taxes, eventually renovate. It's a fresh start. He's turning over a new leaf." I looked at Tyler. He just shrugged and said, "About time, right?" It hit me like a slow wave. They weren't joking. They'd actually handed over the deed to the house we'd all grown up in, the one my mom still called home, to my brother, who couldn't hold a job longer than 3 months. And I wasn't even in the conversation. I wanted to scream. Not out of jealousy, but disbelief. I'd never asked for anything. I paid my student loans. I built my own credit. I never lived rent-free or asked for a dime. And now, the same parents who applauded me for being so independent were bending over backwards to help the one person who never lifted a finger. You didn't even tell me this was happening? I asked quietly. It all moved kind of fast, Mom said. We didn't want to make a big deal. But it is a big deal. I couldn't help the heat rising in my chest. You gave him the house. You put all your faith into him when he's never given you a reason to. We believe in second chances, Dad said. Don't you? I laughed, but it came out hollow. You skipped second and third. You're on his 10th. Tyler stood up and left the table. No defense, no fight. Just walked away like this whole conversation bored him. Later that night, I sat in my car, staring at the house's porch light glowing softly through the trees. I thought about every birthday party we'd had there, every late-night talk with Mom over cups of tea, and now it wasn't ours anymore. It was his. A week later, I found out the full truth. They hadn't just signed over the deed, they also took out part of their retirement to renovate the place for him. New kitchen, updated floors, a custom gaming room in the basement. All of it for Tyler. That was the moment I knew. This wasn't about second chances. It was about misplaced loyalty. And I was done being the backup plan. 6 months passed. I hadn't visited since the night they broke the news about the house. I kept my distance, partly to protect my peace, partly because I didn't know what to say that wouldn't come out sharp. They didn't reach out much either. A few texts here and there, but nothing meaningful. It was like we all silently agreed to let the dust settle. Then one Thursday evening, my phone rang. It was Mom. Callie, hey, sorry to call out of the blue, but we need to talk. Her voice sounded off, rushed, tight, like she was trying to sound casual but couldn't quite pull it off. I hesitated, then said, Sure, everything okay? She sighed. We're in a bit of trouble. It's about the house. Of course it was. We met at a diner halfway between my apartment and the old neighborhood. Mom looked older. Her hair was pulled back tight, face pale, lips pressed together. Dad sat across from her, silent, nursing a cup of black coffee. Tyler wasn't there. We're behind on property taxes, she said after a long silence. And there's some damage. Mold in the basement, broken windows, a leak in the roof. He didn't tell us until it got really bad. And you want me to help, I said flatly. We wouldn't ask if we had any other option, Dad added. He left, just packed up and moved to Florida with some girl he met online. The place is a mess. I blinked. So you gave him the house, paid to fix it up, and he trashed it anyway. Now it's my problem? No one's saying it's your responsibility, Mom said, already on the defensive. We just thought, maybe you could loan us something, just to keep the taxes from going into default. We'll figure the rest out. I stared at them both. I wanted to feel pity or concern, but all I felt was anger, not loud, dramatic rage, just a deep, slow-burning kind of hurt. I wasn't even worth a conversation when you gave him the house, I said. And now you're sitting here asking me to pay for the consequences? You've always been the reliable one, Dad said. We thought you'd understand. That was the moment. The quiet click in my chest when something shut off. No, I said simply. I do understand. I understand that you chose him, again, and I'm not going to keep cleaning up the mess. Mom's face crumpled. Callie, I'm not being cruel. I'm setting a boundary. You made your choice. Now you live with it. I stood up, left a 20 on the table, and walked out without looking back. That night, I sat in my apartment and cried. Not because I was unsure, but because letting go still hurts, even when it's right. I wasn't punishing them. I was protecting myself. And for once, that had to be enough. The days that followed were quiet. Too quiet. After that diner conversation, I expected some fallout. Angry texts, guilt-laced voicemails, maybe even a surprise visit. But nothing came. Just silence. The kind that confirms what you already knew deep down. They weren't reaching out because they loved me. They were reaching out because they needed something. I tried to move on, focused on work, saw friends, spent more time on my side project, illustrating children's books for a local publisher. But the weight lingered. I wasn't grieving them. I was grieving the version of them I'd held onto for years. The fantasy that if I was good enough, dependable enough, they'd eventually see me, appreciate me. Instead, they'd only called when the ship they'd chosen started to sink. A month later, a certified letter showed up at my door. I stared at the envelope for a full minute before opening it. Inside was a formal notice. My parents' home, the same one they'd signed over to Tyler, was being auctioned due to unpaid taxes and structural violations. The county was seizing it. It didn't surprise me, but it still hit like a punch to the gut. That house was my childhood. My scraped knees on the driveway, my first snowman in the front yard, my high school graduation photo, probably still tucked into a drawer in the hallway. And now it was just gone. Later that evening, I scrolled through social media, mostly to distract myself, and there it was, Tyler, on a beach, holding a margarita, grinning. "Florida life is good," the caption read. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because of the absurdity of it all. I considered messaging him. I typed out a full paragraph, something between rage and disbelief, but I deleted it. There was no point. He was never going to understand. He never had to. Our parents never made him. That weekend, I got coffee with my best friend Nina. She listened as I vented, then said something that stuck with me. "You know what your real power is?" she said. "Not being bitter, just being done." It echoed in my head for days. Just being done. So I started therapy. I needed to unpack more than just this latest blow. I needed to face the years of feeling invisible, the ways I'd twisted myself into the good daughter role hoping for validation that never came. And it helped. Slowly. I began to reclaim the memories from that house, not as something stolen, but as something I'd lived. Nothing could change that I was the one who stayed up with Mom while she was sick with the flu, or that I helped Dad fix the dishwasher when he nearly gave up, or that I'd painted my room 3 different times before I left for college. Those were my stories, my truth. They could give the house away. They could lose it. They could even pretend I wasn't the one holding it all together for so long. But they couldn't rewrite who I was, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a supporting character in someone else's mess. I felt like my own. The following spring, something unexpected happened. A handwritten letter arrived in my mailbox. No return address, just my name, Callie, in shaky cursive. I opened it cautiously, expecting more guilt, maybe another request. But it wasn't from my parents. It was from my Aunt Nora, my mom's estranged younger sister. We hadn't spoken in years. I remembered her from childhood Christmases, the way she always gave the loudest laugh in the room and never held her tongue. The letter was short, but powerful. "I heard about the house," she wrote. "I also heard what they did to you. I want you to know, not everyone in this family believed them. You were always the one who kept things together. It wasn't a reconciliation. It wasn't a grand gesture, but it was enough to crack the wall I'd built." I wrote back. We exchanged emails, then eventually met for lunch. Nora filled in blanks I hadn't known existed, how my parents had spun stories about me being ungrateful, unreachable, how Tyler's messes had been hidden for years under the rug of denial, and how, behind closed doors, they weren't the united front they pretended to be. "I always admired you," she said between sips of tea. "You had this quiet strength. You stayed kind, even when they didn't deserve it." It was the first time in a long time someone in my family saw me, really saw me. From there, things shifted. I didn't reconnect with my parents. I didn't go to Tyler's wedding when he posted about it 6 months later with some influencer girl from Miami. But I stopped carrying the weight of their choices. I started sharing bits of my story on a blog, quietly at first, under a pseudonym. But the messages came in. People who'd been scapegoated by their families, People who'd chosen boundaries over blood. People who said, "I thought I was the only one." And for the first time, I realized something. Being cut off gave me space to grow roots somewhere else. Somewhere healthier, more honest. I found family in my friends, in Nora, in the online community that read my words and said, "Me too." I even got a small apartment just outside the city. Nothing fancy, but it's mine. On weekends, I walk to the market. I host dinner parties with mismatched plates and too many candles. I laugh louder. I breathe easier. And I'm okay. I still think about them sometimes. Wonder if they ever regret it. If they drive past the house now and feel anything at all. But I don't dwell, because this chapter is mine. What about you? Have you ever had to choose peace over family? Did you walk away to save yourself, even when it hurt? We'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment below. We read every single one. If you're into real-life family drama like this, make sure to subscribe for more.